now, live from Denver, Colorado, this is Before the Chop, the morning show for barbers. Here's your host, David Ford.
9 years in, full book, clients who rebook before they're even out of the chair. He's making $1,800 a week, and he's good. He's really good. And he takes home less than the barber 2 blocks down who books half as many clients. Same skill, same city. The difference in the shop is in the shop he's standing in. And every week, before a single dollar reaches him, that shop takes its cut right off the top. Call it the room tax. He's been paying for it for 9 years and never once seen the bill. He wasn't doing anything wrong behind the chair. He just never ran the numbers on where he was standing. Good morning, barbers. Welcome back to Before the Chop, live every Monday, 11:30 Mountain, 1:30 Eastern. Drop us a line anytime. Mail at beforethechop.com. We're glad you're here. Before we get into it, tell me where you're at. Commission, booth rental, suite. Drop it in the live chat. If you're watching the replay, put it in the comments. I want to see where everybody's set up while we do this today, because by the end of the day, you'll know whether the spot you picked fits. Here's what's strange to me. There are 1,000 people online who will teach you how to cut. There's almost nobody telling you where to set up your chair. And that decision moves more money than your fade ever will. We just spent a whole episode naming the 9 jobs you're already doing. Today is not another list. Today is the one decision sitting underneath all of them. The one that most barbers make exactly once by accident, on the day a shop had an open chair, and then they never question it again. That decision is the shop you're standing in. I'm in Denver right now. I'm working in a booth rental shop. That's where I landed, and it fits where I am in my career. But admittedly, I didn't always know what I was actually buying when I made that move. I got lucky. I had a group of barbers that genuinely cared and had my best interest in mind. The shop you pick is a business decision first and a vibe decision second, and I learned that slower than I'd care to admit. I've seen barbers crush on commission. I've seen barbers dominate out of a suite. I've watched people build real careers in all 3 of these setups. And I've watched people sit in the wrong one for years without ever knowing why the week felt slightly off. So here's the deal. I'm going to lay out all 3 setups and run the real math on each one. What commission actually costs you once your book fills up, what booth rent rewards you for, and what a suite hands you that nothing else can, plus the bill that comes with it. Then, a gut check you can run on your own situation before you lock the door tonight. We finish on where all 3 even came from, and a bold take on cutting out of a suite that I know a few of you are going to want to fight me on. This is Before the Chop. 2 shops, same neighborhood, same state license on the wall. In one of them, every client rebooks before they leave the chair. Every barber there does it. They've always done it. They don't even think about it. In the shop down the street, nobody does. They never have. Client rebooks, great. Client doesn't, they'll call you in there shaggy. Both of those places feel completely normal to the people standing in them, but the barbers in each one have a totally different picture of what a good week looks like. A different idea of what professional even means. Totally different standards. And neither group thinks they have a standards problem. They think they just have preferences. The standard in the room you're standing in is always calibrating your personal standard. The only question is whether it's calibrating it up or down. And I didn't fully see this until I started visiting other shops. There were things I just assumed were how barbering works. The pace, the rebook rate, how money got talked about or didn't, that turned out to be specific to our shop, not the industry. We had a standard, and I'd absorbed it without ever noticing because that's how environment works. It just seeps in until the shop's normal quietly becomes your normal. Here's what that means for us today. The shop you're in isn't only where you work. It's calibrating you. Your income, your expectations, your whole sense of what's possible in this career. If the place has a low ceiling, give it enough time and that ceiling starts to feel like the right height. And this isn't about trashing anybody's shop. It's about being awake to what's going on around you. The barbers who grow the fastest usually aren't the most gifted. They're the ones who ended up next to people working at a high level and soaked up that standard, the way everybody soaks up the standard around them. The environment does the work, you just have to make sure it's pointed in the right direction. If you need to get out of here, there's your mindset minute. All right, hat back on, let's get practical. 3 setups, real numbers, no theory. There are 3 types of barbershop environments. Each one is built for a different stage of your career. And most barbers landed in theirs based on what was open, not what fit. Fit decides almost everything. What you earn, how fast you grow, how long your body and your book last. So let's walk all 3. Commission means you work in someone else's shop, on their platform, and you split what you bring in. The split runs anywhere from 40-60 to 50-50 in the shop's favor most commonly. The shop hands you the space, the walk-in traffic, the brand, the equipment, the structure, and you hand them the skill. So run the math. At $1,000 a week at 50-50, the shop keeps $500. That's $2,000 a month leaving your pocket. The barber in the opening of the show at $1,800 a week, the shop keeps $900. That's $3,600 a month. That's the room tax. And on commission, it scales right up with you. So what are you actually buying with it? You're buying clients you didn't have to find. You're buying equipment you don't own and never have to fix. A brand somebody else built and is still spending money to keep alive. You're building someone else. You're buying someone else eating the lease, the utilities, the insurance, the 9 p.m. headaches. You're buying structure. And when you need that, commission is the right call. When you're still building a book, still sharpening the skill, still leaning on the walk-in traffic to keep your chair warm. When one slow week on your own would genuinely scare you, you're paying for support. And the support is worth every dollar. Commission isn't exploitation. It's a trade. The only question worth asking is whether you're still getting what you're paying for. Here's when that trade goes bad. When you've got more clients than you can physically see, when you've been booked solid for months, when the walk-in traffic stopped mattering to your week a long time ago, that's the moment that cut turns into pure overhead. You're handing the shop a slice of money it's no longer helping you make. So what setup are you in right now? Drop it in the chat, put it in the comments. Is it commission, booth rent, suite? And tell me if you think it fits. Okay, type number 2, booth rental. Booth rental completely flips the script. It's a flat fee for your space, weekly or monthly. Everything you make over that line is yours. Rent swings by market. $200 to $800 a week covers most of the country. It might be pricier in the big cities. The math changes shape here. At $600 a week, you've got a clear $600 before you've made a nickel for yourself. 15 clients at $60 a head is $900 in. After rent, you keep $300. Same barber, 25 clients, $1,500 in, $900 out. The steadier the book, the better that math gets, and it gets better fast. What you're buying here is autonomy. Your schedule, your prices, your clients, the way your station runs, it's all yours. The owner keeps the lights on and sets the rent. Past that, you're running your own thing inside of theirs. Booth rent is the right fit when you've got a consistent book and you've actually done the math. That break-even pressure is real and it hits on the first day that you're in the shop. A barber with 8 steady clients jumping into a $600 seat is paying rent just to tread water. But a barber with 25 steady clients still sitting on a 50-50 commission is leaving about $150 a week on the table. That's $600 a month staying in a shop that could be staying in your pocket. I'll be honest with you. I stayed comfortable on booth rent longer than I should have before I started treating my numbers like they mattered. I told myself I'd get serious once the book felt solid. The book was solid. I just didn't want to look. Booth rent rewards the book you already have. Commission helps you build the book you don't. Mix those two up, and you'll make the right move at the wrong time. The third type is the private suite. And this is where the independence logic ends up. You own a fully separate space, a unit in a suite concept building, your own storefront, your own four walls, and all of it is yours. Schedule, pricing, branding, the whole client experience, and every bit of the overhead that goes with it. The economics are simple and steep. The ceiling is high, no split, no shared floor dynamic, just you and your costs, which in a suite usually run $800 to $1,500 a month and up, depending on the market. What you're buying is total brand control. You stop being a barber in someone else's shop and you start being a business with your own name on it. That's a different kind of asset, one that can grow, one that can eventually be worth something on its own, separate from your own two hands. The suite is the right move when your book is full and steady, when you've squeezed everything booth rent had to give, and when you're ready to just quit growing a book and start building a brand. The barber who's been on booth rent for years, full chair, clear picture of what their name could become, that barber is ready. And it's the wrong move when you go there because independence sounds good before the book is there to carry it. A suite's overhead is a different animal than booth rent. Without consistent weekly revenue sitting well above your costs, independence just turns into isolation with a bill stapled to it. The suite isn't the finish line for every barber. It's just one option. Whether it's yours comes down to whether the math is there and what you're actually trying to build. 3 setups, 3 different trades, 3 different moments in a career. Look, none of them is good or bad on its own. Commission isn't exploitation, booth rent isn't freedom, the suite isn't the prize. They're tools. Each one is built for a specific stretch of the road. Most barbers pick the wrong one, not because they've made a dumb decision, but because they made the decision with no map. You've got the map now. The question was never which one is best, it's which one fits where you're standing right now. Picture it in first person for a second. End of the week, last client's gone, you're the last one in the shop. Before you grab your keys, you're running 3 questions on yourself. The honest kind where nobody's watching and you don't get to round up. Question 1, am I making more than I'm paying to stand here? Run the actual number. For commission, what did the shop keep this month? Is what they kept still worth what you're getting back? The clients, the space, the culture, the brand? If yes, then the trade's working. If not, then you're paying for a service that quietly stops serving you. Booth rent. Is your revenue clearing rent consistently enough that the model holds? Or are there months where rent eats the whole thing? Suite. Is your monthly take clearing overhead with enough left over that you're building something, not just covering? Question 2. Am I actually growing where I am? Not just sharper hands, book size, name, income. Is the number moving in the right direction? And is the shop speeding that up? Is it slowing it down? Or is it doing nothing at all? If you've been feeling flat in the same spot for more than a year, the setup is worth a hard look. Question 3. If you were starting over today, would you pick this shop again? Not because it's familiar, not because the people are fine, only because it's the right fit for where you're standing right now. 3 questions. If you have an honest yes to all 3, then you've found your home. And if you have a no, then you've just found the thing that needs your attention. You don't have to move a single thing today or right now, but at least you know. Run it and let me know which one you didn't want to answer. Live chat, in the comments, mail at beforethechop.com. Here's a question worth sitting with. How did we even end up with these 3 options to choose from? Because 130 years ago, there was exactly one. Chicago, 1893. A man named A.B. Moeller opens a building. Not a barbershop, a school. The first barber school in America. People learning to cut hair in a formal classroom with an actual curriculum for the first time in this country. Before Moeller, barbering hair was learn as you go, apprentice in a shop, pick up from whoever was next to you, hope they were teaching you the right things. A.B. Moeller changed that. By the early 1900s, formal training was spreading. By the 1950s, every state had licensing on the books. Barbering was a real regulated profession, trained, licensed, structured. And the structure looked almost identical everywhere. You stood in someone's shop, on their platform, and you split the take. Commission. The owner built the business, you built your book inside of it. That was the only model for the better part of a century. Not because somebody decided it was right, because it was the only door open. Here's the part most barbers never hear. The commission model was never chosen. It was inherited. It's how the whole industry got organized for 100 years, simply because no other option existed. Then two things cracked it wide open. First, the IRS. In the 1980s, the rules around independent contractor status got clearer, and booth rental fit them cleanly. The barber rents the space, sets their own hours and prices, isn't told how to cut. That legal clarity gave booth rent an oxygen it never had. Through the late 80s and into the 90s, it spread. Salons first, then barbershops. Second, the suite. Early 2000s, suite concept buildings start showing up. Semi-private units. Each one run independently, each one paying flat rent. One of the companies that built that model early was Sola Salons, founded in 2004 right here in Denver. By 2010, the salon suite was a real business model. By 2015, it was a movement. Over the last decade, it crossed all the way into barbering. In 2026, the U.S. barber industry runs around $7 billion a year. And inside that number are three distinct models, each one an answer somebody gave to the same question at a different moment in history. Every generation of barbers has asked the exact same thing. How do I keep more of what I make? Commission was the answer for 100 years. Booth rent answered it in the next 30. The suite is the answer some barbers are living right now. The question never changed. The answers just kept getting more independent. So that's how we got our three options. Now, let me tell you what's bugging me about where they're taking us. If you love your suite, this is not a shot at you. The economics are real, and they do work. I just want to put a trade-off on the table that I almost never hear anybody talk about. The private suite is the best economic move barbers have made in a generation, and it's doing something to barbershop culture that nobody wants to say out loud. The money side isn't up for debate. Once the book is there, once the revenue's steady, and the suite math is clean, you keep more, you control more, you build something fully yours. It's real and it's good. But here's what keeps turning over in my head. The barbershop, as an institution, the actual thing, not the business model, was built on what happens when barbers share a room. A new guy watching how the veteran handles a client who's losing his hair and he's not okay about it. Two barbers at neighboring chairs arguing technique at the long end of a Saturday. The standard of the floor doing its quiet calibration work. The exact thing I described in the Mindset Minute. None of that happens when it's just you and four walls. I'm still in a shared shop. Part of it is the booth math. It works for me right now. But part of it is that I'm not done learning from the people standing around me. And I know that the day I go fully independent, some of that just stops. A whole generation of barbers is going to have better economics, but fewer people to learn from. And they may never even know what they missed. Nobody grows in isolation. The barbers I know who work at the highest level, the ones I actually learn from, didn't get there from videos or courses. They got there from proximity, from standing next to somebody better, day after day, until it just becomes normal. That's not an argument against suites. It's an honest look at the trade-off. So here's where you land. You either optimize for the money, and for a lot of barbers with a full book, that is just flat out the right call. Or you optimize for the room. Booth rent in the right shop can hand you a little of both for a while. Your own economics, somebody else's culture. But sooner or later, most barbers pick one. Be in the room or build your own thing. Both are legit. The one move you don't get is pretending there's no trade-off being made at all. Tell me where you land. Sweet barbers especially. What did you gain that surprised you? What did you miss more than you expected? Let's bring it home. 3 setups, each one right for a different stretch of the road. And that stage fit question. Am I in the right one for where I'm standing right now? Is one most barbers have never asked out loud. That's the one thing to carry out of here today. Anything on your mind, a question, a story, a topic, something you want me to hear about, mail it beforethechop.com. And we're live every Monday, 11:30 Mountain, 1:30 Eastern. Come hang with us in the chat. You miss it live, the main segment and the Mindset Minute are on the channel the same day. Subscribe so none of it slips past you. And next week, you know all 3 setups. Before you take a chair in any of them, there are specific things to look for that tell you whether a shop is going to grow your career or cost you your career. That's where we go. I'm David Ford. This is Before the Chop. Get behind the chair, chop some hair, and go crush it.